we're going to keep growing the company, building a brand and building a product based on our values and our mission that keeps bringing people in and keeping them in, then your valuation goes up in hand.
Hello, listeners, viewers. Welcome to another episode of Test, Optimize, and Scale. I have been awaiting today's discussion with John Worthington, founder and CEO of Sircles, the social recommendations app that is taking its competitors by storm. It's all about positivity. John's going to break down everything it is about the platform and the community that makes it stand out. There has been very strong degrees of success on WeFunder from investor audiences. And John, I have been looking forward to today's conversation to learn more details about everything that took place in the origination of Sircles.
Hey, glad to be here. Good to see you, Jason.
Good to see you. Good to see you. For audio listeners, by the way, Sircles is spelled with an S if you're already searching on your mobile devices. And John, just to familiarize listeners further, where does the story begin with you? Where did your career kick off, and how did it lead into the world of social media, social recommendations?
Sure. Well, I'm fortunate to have a really great partner, friend of mine from college. We started a tech company a few years back, and so an amazing guy, a great partner, as I mentioned, who gets along really well with customers, which is kind of a rarity in the tech field. You know, he's like got the customer service skills and the technical skills. I already had some business marketing skills. We decided to start a company about 15 years ago. It's gone really well. We've got about 12 locations now, maybe close to 100 employees. And that's kind of spawned this new idea we have. It's an app, as you mentioned, Sircles. It's all about recommendations. It's basically a social app in a sense, because these are friends and family, so it's people you know. We're here to take on Yelp. We don't have reviews. With recommendations, because there's no reviews, we also make sure everything stays positive. When I ask my friend for a recommendation, I don't say, "Hey, can you tell me 5 places you don't like?" Right? Or if I say, "Hey, I've got this really great dentist, you can trust him." He's not like, "Well, is he 4 stars? Is he 4.5 stars?" So, we trust recommendations, and we realize there's just not an app or anything out there where I can see, like, where can I go to get my car worked on, or what good movies are you watching, or shows you've watched lately. So that's the idea behind it.
Well, I got to tell you, I love it. When I go on to any social media platform, I feel like there's so much negativity, and that the publishers of those ecosystems thrive on it. There's an addiction model, and it feeds into their algorithm and taps into our emotions where it keeps bringing us back. But that could be at the detriment to businesses, especially local businesses or ones that are trying to have a strong presence in a given community, given geographical location. So being able to take out some of the darker elements of, like you said, reviews and these recommendations, I know I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, and we're going up against social media in general. There's a lot of toxicity and drama, but also our number one target is to really go after Yelp. As a small business owner myself, we have 12 locations. We've been dealing with Yelp for all these years. They are very difficult, I should say. If you have reviews are false, or it could even be an ex-employee or a competitor, they're really no help. But worse than that, and I'm not alone in this, if you're not paying them in support, and we experienced this personally, we stopped paying Yelp a couple years back. We actually paid thousands a month for all of our locations. We stopped paying them a couple months back. Overnight, they filtered over 200 5-star reviews, literally overnight, and tanked our score to like 3.5, which obviously impacts our business, and a business that my partner and friends and we all built up from nothing. Very, very proud of. We have great customer service and great reputation, but it doesn't look like that online when they do that kind of tactic. So that was also an impetus for us to start this, is to protect and support local businesses, and protect against this tyranny of Yelp. And again, I'm not alone in this. Every small business we've talked to since we started on this mission is like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're doing this. How can I help?" And so that's been helping us tremendously with building community. We actually have thousands of investors now. So you mentioned the WeFunder campaigns we've done. We've actually been one of the most successful crowdfunding campaigns of all time. We've raised over $1 million back to back four times. This is our fourth time. We're in one campaign right now. So we have a really good track record, and most of that comes from the strong community support for our mission and what we're doing.
So instead of giving Yelp a bad review, you guys took that energy and created your own platform and to get the right message out there. Because it's true, if I'm asking a friend for a recommendation, I'm trusting what they're going to say, and they're going to point out some good spots to me. I do it for stock tips, clothing, golf clubs, you name it. You're going off trusted sources. And it does muddy the water when you get onto a platform and it seems like people are just looking for an outlet to vent. And it's tough to actually gauge, hey, is this a fair representation of a business's customer base, or just the ones that are upset?
Exactly. Right. And who knows if you can trust the reviews, or you might read three great reviews and then the fourth one is terrible. And oh, do I go to this restaurant now? It sounded great until the fourth review. But if your friend says, hey, you got to try this sushi restaurant downtown, I'm there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's so disheartening to hear about the push for advertising dollars and how they remove positive reviews from you. It sounds like abusive control. I've heard that for other platforms. Even just the fact that they prioritize people who are spending in that type of way. But to
Yeah.
remove stars and affect your score that way for given industries, that could be a deal breaker.
It's shocking they get away with it. It really is. And guess what? We gave in, we paid them, and magically the reviews started coming back. It was just so blatantly obvious. It's unbelievable that they've been getting away with it this long. So their days are numbered. We're on a warpath right now, and there's so much support behind us. So it's amazing also how wide open the door is here. I can't think of another industry where there's a competitor that's so widely loathed. So they just left the door wide open for a company like ours to fill the gap in a positive way. If a small business has a customer come in, it's a gamble to say, "Hey, will you leave me a review on Yelp?" That's a gamble.
Yes.
If a customer comes in with us and they say, "Hey, we favored us on Circles," they either do or they don't. So you're either in or you're out. They either favorite you or they don't. If you favorite somebody, then all your friends and family see that. So all your followers would see the favorite. But there's nothing negative about a favorite, about recommending places.
And how widely used is the platform right now? Are you guys focusing on specific regions first? Watching the user base grow, the business side. I know it's a marketplace.
Right, right.
What does growth look like?
Yeah, we launched a new version. We had a prototype kind of version that we launched a little over a year ago after our first successful raises. Hired some good engineers and got to a level where we could push out a concept that we felt could scale. Turns out it couldn't scale. So we raised some more money and we kind of started over with the code base. Like we kept some things, but for the most part, we had to re-architect the database, started new front end, back end code. So we launched that version um, only 3 or 4 months ago. And so right now we're about 25,000 users
Mhm.
and it's growing every day. We're not doing a lot of marketing yet because there's a key component that we have in our back pocket. We're actually probably going to release next week where we have like this group chat where we kind of reinvented group chat in a way it's very familiar, which is the key. So it's like the group chat you're used to, like if it's iMessage, you pick a couple names, send a text, you're in a group chat. So we made it really simple, but we gave it a twist that we think is a huge improvement. We're allowing people to, as they share, if you share a topic, let's say you share a movie into your group chat, it organizes the topics right at the top of the screen, really organized, really clean, all in one screen. So you can be chatting within a topic and it puts a preview in the main chat. So your friends see the previews. They could see a conversation. If you want to participate, you could go over there. Like maybe you have an event coming up, or you're just like, "Hey, this show is really cool. You guys should watch it." And you could have like your side conversations, and the most recent ones move to the front of the list, all on one screen. So we've got something like that kind of in our back pocket. We're gonna release. So then we're gonna do our real big marketing, and that's where we're expecting. We have high hopes. Like we expect millions of users for Circles, and I think that group chat really brings it together.
And I've seen firsthand the loyalty and the listening you have from your audience, and watching how many investors you have on your WeFunder campaign, on your past campaigns. So I know it is more than your everyday mobile app user. I mean, you guys have high retention rates. It's a very engaged community at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Really high retention rates and great engagement. So a lot of that does come from the community. And if I were to give advice, I would say, if especially in the crowdfunding arena, is build your community, because they're your strongest supporters. They're the ambassadors, the evangelists to your product, especially a product like ours that has a social component to it. Really critical for us to have that community. They become loyal users and more engaged. They bring in more users. They bring in more investors. So we have over 5,000 investors. That's a pretty solid base to grow from. You can imagine they have a vested interest in the success of our company. So they're really active in bringing users. In fact, is kind of a part of our strategy to, I call it ride the escalator, where we bring in investors to our crowdfunding campaign who become really loyal users. They bring in more loyal users and investors, and we kind of just ride this up. And it occurred to me, it doesn't really matter if the app goes viral or if the crowdfunding campaign goes viral, because if the crowdfunding campaign goes viral, the app goes viral by default. So we're doing these two things simultaneously in a unique strategy. We've been working this out with our corporate attorney, making sure we're following rules, and working through with WeFunder and make sure we're following their rules. But it looks like we can kind of perpetuate this strategy where we can, because obviously you can't do a campaign forever without raising valuation along the way. So there has to be a component where, because otherwise you might give away 100% of the company after a little while. If you just kept raising money through a crowdfunding campaign without, you have to hit some milestones that are appropriate and raise your valuation along the way. So this is kind of a novel strategy we're doing, but I think it's key to us helping create that growth, but of the most loyal users that bring in their circle, if you will.
Mhm. Peer-to-peer marketing. I've screamed it on panels before. And I've actually written articles on the premium audience for equity crowdfunding is user owners. And
Yes.
that the ambassadors you can get who, like you said, they have a vested interest in the organization can be of a far greater lifetime value impact to the organization than their initial investment. Imagine you have investors that have participated in each round. As you said, you've had investors who've shared with their friends, family, coworkers, what have you, and brought more and more people into the crowd from there. I mean, that's really why the vehicle was built. While democratizing the access to capital, to early stage investments. But it's so refreshing to hear that you're getting these long-term impacts beyond just the capital from the vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a core part of the strategy. And yes, you're right. We do get a lot of repeat investors. In fact, especially when we launched this last campaign, I think probably about 50% of our investments were from returning investors. And that says a lot about the community. And then, of course, we're really transparent along the way. I give updates minimum quarterly, if not more often, and they're really detailed. And it's an important component to this if you're part of a community and you're building an app. It takes time to build an app. We've been working on this for like 4 years.
Yeah.
Uh, it's hard. If it was easy, everyone would be a billionaire doing it. So it's just a challenge, especially to get it right. Like people have tried this before and had good ideas, but they missed little pieces of it. Like it's as easy as um, a naming convention here, or just losing sight of like the flow of any kind of process. If it's too difficult or not fun, there's a gamification element in these things. But I'm really transparent about so our good and our bad that goes on, and keeping people updated through the WeFunder campaign. It helps keep everything top of mind,
Yes.
and and of course there's a lot of followers in the campaign that haven't invested yet too, and so they want to see, well, let me wait and see where is this going, and is this going to be a good long-term investment. Obviously, the earlier you are, the riskier you are. As things progress, you get to see, is this progressing the right way or the wrong way, and how is the growth, and what is their plan, all those things.
While we're on the topic of Reg CF, how did you see success on the first campaign, the next campaign, the later campaigns, the messaging, even that 50% of the audience with email, was it social media, retargeting from ads, press headlines, features, and financial email newsletters, uh, updates on the WeFunder platform, on the WeFunder portal. How have you been able to produce over 5,000 investors from your investor acquisition efforts?
Sure, sure. Yeah, for us, we're fortunate to have a really strong media partner in this local market. We're in Northern California. We have a friend, business partner, started out as a client of our tech company. We did their IT. They have a radio morning show that's really popular in the area. And we developed a relationship over time and the trust, and we had shared our ideas, and he liked it. He wanted to get involved. So of course, um, this relationship evolved over time, but having, I think having some type of close media partner, at least for us in our case, is essential. You really want to get momentum, and it can be in any form. Like it could be someone who's strong on YouTube or whatever else. Ours happens to be a radio personality. He's been on the air for 20 years and has a great morning show, one of the top in the nation, and a loyal audience. Because for us at least, we need the long form content. We need to be able to tell our story, talk about who we are and where we're going, and why we're doing this. So having that type of partnership helped with everything else around it, because you get the momentum up front. We did social media campaigns. We have done billboards. We've done straight digital marketing, got Google AdWords, those kind of things, TV commercials, in fact, that actually are pretty popular. So though all of it together creates a buzz. Now, we didn't focus on the nation. We focused on where the region where we're strong, and we run TV commercials locally. We have a friend of ours who was a winner of a top reality show, and he recorded a commercial for us that we run. I run them on the news networks like CNBC, CNN, where I get like people are pretty much stay tuned in through the commercials on it. And it's actually not that expensive. You stay in a local market. I don't want to give it away, but I don't pay that much for it. It's surprisingly low. If you have a good rep, you can negotiate with. But getting multiple touches of exposure, telling your story, and hitting it hard in the beginning goes a long way. Like we jumped to the top of WeFunder's page, like right on day one, like most money raised, most activity, most everything. And then that helps. Then you get more people from elsewhere. And then things kind of lull in the middle. And now we're coming up to our close, and that's where you want to finish strong. Last campaign, we raised 1.7 million in our close in our last 30 days, because there's a countdown clock, and that's where you go back to the well with your all your TV commercials, digital marketing, all that stuff, kind of pump it back up. And everybody that was watching, it's like, okay, either, yeah, it's like yes or no. Better fish or cut bait now. And so that helps a lot to get the and people see everyone jumping in, and it creates this level of excitement. It was so cool. Last time we did this last year, in the last hour, there was an investment like every 2 seconds. And I get an email. It's like, doom, 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 doom. It was really cool because obviously all these people were watching. And it was like on a Friday night too, like a random night that we ended the campaign. So we're kind of hoping for the same situation this time around. And of course, it's the lifeblood of the company. You got to have capital to survive if you're a startup, especially in our field. Like, I mean, we may go years without turning a profit. That's not how the game's played for us. We need millions of engaged users. And if they're engaged and retained, the valuation can go sky high. The profit can come later. I mean, Snapchat's lost $5 billion to this day, and that's okay. Like I think Uber just turned a profit, right? And so they all made tons, a huge return, all their early investors and founders. As long as you're growing, that's in our world, the digital world, that's how you play the game. And so we're going to keep growing the company, building a brand and building a product based on our values and our mission that keeps bringing people in and keeping them in. Then your valuation goes up in hand.
the valuation game has worked with these other social platforms. And like you said, looking at their market share, looking at their investor relations, they're in very good places. And talking about broader social media, not just social recommendations here. I see you guys going in that type of path. You've already identified user acquisition strategies that have paid out for you, investor acquisition strategies, and how the two funnels merge. So it's great to see it in action. The numbers speak loudly. As you're speaking about this, I'm thinking about the businesses a bit. Marketplace, users, businesses. How have the businesses responded? Have you seen businesses invest on the Reg CF campaigns? Have you
Oh,
seen people invest and then say, hey, I'm bringing my business onto the platform? What has your relationships, your partnerships look like with businesses?
oh yeah, tons. In fact, that is a great source for us of growth because the businesses, as I mentioned, they love Circles because there's no gamble in promoting us as, please favorite us on Circles. So we've done a bunch of collaborations with businesses, local businesses, and we have this positive feedback loop between our customers, our users of the app, and then the businesses themselves. They offer rewards and perks within our app. And we do these collabs on social media where we kind of cross promote. We get their audience, they get our audience, and we do like, let's say, record their dishes, their desserts, and we have people show up and talk about how great the business is. That type of feedback between the businesses and us has been huge because it's validating to us as a company, but also they see the results. They see our efforts are bringing customers through their door. And in fact, I would say by now in this region, more than half the people we talk to, because we have a street team, we call it, they go door to door. And we're like, hey, have you heard of Circles yet? We're going to give you a sticker to put on your window. And half the people have already heard of us. And they're like, oh, yeah. Or a bunch of them already invested. Like, yeah, I invested in you guys. And the guy sitting in the bar, I invested too. And so, yeah, the local businesses are kind of key to this, especially for us. Yes.
I see it as a way that you could actually bring in more and more individuals. The business themselves could be marketers, like you're saying, you know, recommend us on Circles. So I could just envision your expansion plan as a result. Like you said, focusing on these zip codes, these geographical areas, and then move into the next market and the next, and roll out your model to each of those targets.
Yes, exactly. And we have another strategy too, kind of in parallel. We did a test run at Sacramento State University the fall semester. We have some guys here that were part of the Greek system, so we had a little bit of an in to go to sororities and fraternities. We created a sorority showdown and had a contest between the sororities, and it was great for exposure, but also helped us work out some bugs in the app too. And they loved it. They're like, Circles, we love you guys. And so that taught us that we can scale. This is like what Facebook did. We can scale this university by university because, as I mentioned, that group chat, and that also helped us come to that decision of how to structure the group chat. These sororities have events and everything, but they're not well organized, and they're all over the place. There's not really a good app for them to localize, centralize around conversation around like the next event and the next get together or the rules of and everything else that are going on. So we kind of built it with them in mind. So we're planning to now scale this university by university and going through the Greek system. Other apps have done this before, like Bumble, Tinder. They kind of started their way through there. It's a brilliant strategy because it's a close network. And once you get the social proof from that network, you're kind of in, which we've done already here locally. So it's like, okay, we got a good formula. So that's another part. So obviously you got to have more than one way. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So I think we've got a few good strategies to get the word out.
Yeah, I love the Tinder, the Bumble case study where they would go to sororities, get them to join the app, go across the street to the fraternity, show them who's on the app because it's social dynamics. So, oh, people at this campus really like these businesses. Let me check that out. And those businesses, hey, they're big on this Circles platform. We need to get on there. So you have this bubble inside of a larger city that can not only grow but then be looked at by the rest of the community as hey that's where the new hip things are happening at the university. So it's brilliant that you're going that direction. I've read about it for the dating apps and other ones outside of it. I really like how you brought that up.
Yeah, no, we're excited about it, and going to be a big part for the next fall semester coming up for us to roll it out larger scale now.
Sure, sure. And before I get into the test optimized scale questions, where do you picture the whole mobile world going? There is so much uh, misinformation, different, different platforms, or there's people arguing. I am really applauding that you guys are a source of positivity in there. Do you see more of the publishing world, more of where we spend time consisting of these uplifting, positive uh, pieces of content? I always try to vision where things are going to be, 2034, wherever it is. I hope to think that you guys are helping shape the path.
Well, yeah, when it comes to the fatigue and exhaustion in social media, that's been building, and it's great timing for us. When we started this, it wasn't even really talked about that much. But of course, now the drumbeat has really grown to people are just fed up with
Yes.
getting bullied online and all this drama and the politics. And we've divided our people and created friction. Especially young people are um, feeling more depressed and more anxious than ever before. So I think probably that lends itself to a lot of adults and mothers and fathers supporting us and supporting apps and platforms that are more about positivity. So I do think, and I see that trend. I hear people talking about it all the time. I don't think it's as easy as it sounds because fear and anger drive people to take actions. And so it's easy for the social media companies and the YouTubes and everybody else to give you stuff in your feed that makes you mad about something, because then you stay there and you're like, yeah, that's, let me see more about that, and more people agree with me about that too, and you stay in that loop. So, and it's easy, it's too easy, it's almost too easy, it's unfair, really, it's kind of manipulating people. So what's harder is actually breaking through with a product that can support positivity and stay relevant and keep people engaged. But I do think there's a movement. I do see it. And I think that not just mobile, but in general. And I think that probably people are more aware too that mobile devices are sucking away too much of our life and our time. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
probably healthy. And social skills are probably at their all-time low. You know, it's not the same world that I grew up in. We used to play at the park, the sandlot game, two captains, pick teams. You know, we get outside and we play games, and you just don't see that anymore. I don't know how to change it. We're going to do our part in this. A big part of it is your circle. It's real people. These are people that you are connected with. And, you know, I'm meeting up with my friends later on this evening and we're chatting in the app, and it's all about how we get together, not just, you know, online. And so hopefully there are more products like that. It's hard to predict. And then don't even get me started on AI. Who knows where that's going to take things.
That's a whole nother podcast. Well, it's like you said. I mean, these could be tools to polarize us or bring us together. It's great that you're spreading the positivity and bringing us together for it. I know it's been a long road to get there. You've been successful at it. Would love to package some of the insights you've had so that the audience could, act on those themselves, those same tactics, those same strategies. I like to ask, what would you recommend for founders, marketers, maybe a VC for one of their portfolio companies to test out towards their own organization's growth?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're doing it right now. I mentioned the formula that works for us, the long form content. We kind of have that nailed. We got a strong personality that has loyal following. How do you take a piece of that? And I would recommend taking something that does work if you have something you can build off of. And we're going to try doing it with short form. We have some friends with big TikTok followings, and we think we can tell the story so iterate in a sense. So we can tell the story in short form, short chunks, and get the long form benefit, especially if they have a loyal audience in our case, and that follows their advice. We're thinking, and we're going to know as we modify our message, that we can take the formula but break it up. And so I would say, test things that have a foundation in success. And we've done that a lot with our larger company, with the retail locations, of trying things with pricing and scheduling and things that um, were based on other things that had already worked, but then kind of iterated off of that. And don't ever, in my case, in anyone's case, we've never really taken a huge gamble on anything that's totally untested. It's always calculated, small, reasonable assumptions, small risks, based on past experience.
That's our outlook at it as well. Small calculated tests, optimizing them, scale them, given the motto, of course. And speaking to that, what about optimization? Particularly when things are not working right out of the gate. You launch that first test, the audience isn't responding. I know you've mentioned, hey, we made different iterations to the app, the campaign. What have been your approaches towards that have been effective for you?
Yeah, and there's a lot of things you can do. In our case, for optimizing, we have different focus groups. We will try different things. We've moved one button around 4 different times, changed the color of it, changed the lettering on it to figure out what's the most optimal place. It's the place where you will add friends. There's a couple ways you can add friends. You can add them through people in the app, which is great if they're in the app, but not everyone's in the app. So you got to be able to figure out how to add people from outside the app, but it also has to be intuitive. And it's actually harder than you think to merge that together. So the button to find friends outside of the app kind of moved around to not be confused with the people that are already in the app, friends, followers, etc. So we actually ended up in the search bar as a find friends button. But that kind of thing where, optimizing is, again, part of the iteration process. And there's been a ton of that. Our chat is going through that right now. The first draft of it wasn't clear that this message was in a topic. So, okay, let's change the background color a little bit, just slightly. Let's make the preview a little bit smaller in the main chat, so you're clear. Like, okay, if I'm responding in the main chat, I'm not responding to this topic. Like, clearly defining, and then we put another label on. And each time we do this, we bring it in front of people and say, "What do you think you're looking at here? I'm not going to give you any instructions. Chat with me. And try this." And if they don't get it, we go back and we optimize.
Work off the data, have the right variants, look at the color, the location, the typography, the visuals. Isn't it amazing how the slightest changes can have such a big differentiator?
It's crazy. Yeah, the littlest things, and it makes perfect sense to you. Like, this is going to work, no problem. And then people are like, I don't get it. All right, we got to draw it up again.
Always have assumptions going into a campaign, but like to say we need the analytics, the data to show us what's working. And what about scale? You've got it dialed, your funnel, your app, your user experience, it is hitting the benchmarks. What have been the models you've used towards scale that have been so fruitful, so productive for you?
Yeah, well, just taking what works again and making sure you can repackage it in a way that's not super expensive or super labor intensive. Having a formula where we have structured rules of the road, if you will. So when we go do this scaled approach to the universities, we now have the formula, we have it documented, and there's going to be a step-by-step plan. We're going to form teams, team leaders, and then they're going to recruit behind that and follow a system. And if you can do it at scale, you can do it. If you can do it once, you learn how to do it. That's going to be your most costly, your most time consuming. But then you whittle it down to the way you can do now with just the best parts. You throw out the stuff that was a waste of time and a mistake or excess expense. Whittle it down, take that, repackage it, and then scale it all over.
Find that pocket of performance, replicate the tactics, ramp up.
Exactly.
Awesome. Awesome, John. I appreciate you being an open book about those notes as well, too. You have invaluable experience. Like you said, one of the top ranked CF issuers to date, over 5,000 investors, huge retention numbers, huge partners, the different accelerator programs, and all of the groups that you have been acknowledged by. It's definitely a standout. So being able to hear about what is moving and ticking and making it all happen in background is enlightening to me. And I work on these campaigns all day long. I have these conversations. These are, standout notes to me. I'm going to be sharing with the team here. So I really appreciate you taking the time to hop on.
I'm glad to hear that. It was great to be here. Thank you, Jason.
And John, as we begin to wrap up here, any final thoughts you want to leave listeners with? And what is the best way for them to learn more about Circles and even join themselves?
Sure. Well, Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it, no matter what it is. We hear that all the time. We heard it from the beginning. What a crazy idea. Why don't you stick with your tech company? So yeah, don't let anybody tell you can't do it. If you see it, if you have the vision, and that's the key, follow your vision. That would be my advice to anybody that's thinking about taking a risk and taking a gamble on a startup. But if you got the passion and the vision, you can do it. If you want to participate in ours, we're very passionate. We believe very strongly in what we're doing. We have a couple weeks left on our campaign. It will be closing soon, but any support we can get from the community, it just helps us in our mission to bring positivity to social media, and in the end, take down Yelp if we can. That's the goal. So
Well
thank you.
said. Well said. That passion definitely goes a long way during those optimization stages, and you are a testament to that. So listeners, viewers, definitely recommend taking John up on that offer. Check out what they have going on. Look to join the community in the ways that are most appropriate for you. And John, thanks again for taking the time to join. This has been a lot of fun to do. And again, really just want to emphasize that we appreciate it.
All right, it's been great. Thank you, Jason. Have a good one.
Awesome, John. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We will see you next time. Appreciate you tuning in today. Take care.